Hello everyone, I just thought I'd make a little video here about the next stage of the British Airways Speedbird Pilot Academy. So the next stage is the pilot communication activity. This is a stage that quite a few people are on at the moment, and I just want to say well done if you've got to this stage. All the other stages are very difficult to get past. However, if you have gotten to this stage, big well done to you. This is the final stage before all the in-person stuff starts, so the stuff with your specific flight schools, such as interviews, which I'll move on to in a later date. However, the British Airways have also said that there will be a bit of a longer wait after this stage once you complete this because they are going through all the personal stuff, all the motivation questions, which can take a bit longer to weed through everyone. So just be aware of that if you're applying. I'm just going to get onto some of the information about the pilot communication activity specifically. So if you like that, please stick around. So what is the pilot communication activity? Well, for those of you who participated in British Airways Speedbird Pilot Academy last year, it's slightly different to last year, however, it's very similar. They've changed it so it's a bit more accurate to the exact job of a pilot. And as you can see below, it says where you record some audio, delivering a briefing to a colleague and a passenger announcement. So it's a bit different from last year, as last year you were delivering two passenger announcements. However, this year they've replaced one of those with a briefing to a colleague. I think this is a bit better because this is more likely what you're going to be doing on a day-to-day basis as a pilot. So it's a bit more accurate to the exact job. Um, Something you have to do all the time, exactly. So getting comfortable with this is definitely a skill that I'd say is useful. Uh, some British Airways tips on the right there. Be clear, be relevant, and keep customer safety in mind. As always, safety is a top priority for British Airways and also is customer service. So keep that in mind when you're recording your answers. You're given some time to write notes because these situations will be quite specific. It'll tell you exactly what flights you're on, what is happening. So be sure to get a notepad before you start and write some notes down. They'll give you about 5 minutes to write notes, and then you'll be given 2 minutes to record the exact passenger announcement and briefing. You get 3 attempts to record each one, so 3 attempts for the briefing and 3 attempts for the passenger announcement. And once you disregard your first recording, once you move on to the next attempt, you can't go back, unfortunately. So if you record a good one, make sure to take it and move on to the next one, because unfortunately you can't go back and choose one of your earlier recordings. So keep that in mind when you're recording it. Now, whilst I was thinking, what is the best way to prepare for this, ChatGPT came into my mind because ChatGPT is a great resource to get you lots of specific examples. You can ask for specific examples of flights, you can ask for examples of issues, you can also ask for examples of passenger announcements and see what good pilot passenger announcements and good pilot briefings look like. So you can compare them to your tests, to your answers, and see how they differ. I think that ChatGPT, don't abuse it. Don't use it during your actual test because British Airways will immediately disqualify you for this. But use it to give you some examples. It can give you specific flight details, altitudes, all that stuff. And I think it's one of the great ways to give yourself some examples to work with and work off when you're actually practicing for this test. Now, here are some of the examples that I mean. On the left, we've got a flight from London Heathrow to Barcelona, gives you all the different details, the type of aircraft, flight time, cruising altitude, departure and arrival runway, so that you can use that information to generate your pilot brief. For example, you can brief the takeoff out of London. Think about, is it possibly a cold morning? Will you have to use anti-ice? All stuff like that. Generate a situation in your head and then make a briefing off it. And then also on the right, for example, if you wanted to do a passenger announcement example, we've got a aircraft system malfunction, a avionics issue. So you might have to be stuck at the stand, you might be ready to push back, and then this happens. Generate that situation in your mind and then think about what sort of passenger announcement you would want to hear. What sort of information would you be wanting to hear from the pilots? Would you be wanting to hear that the ground engineers are inspecting the system? Delay time, all examples like that. And unfortunately, no technical details are actually assessed. So they couldn't care whether you say there's two engines on an A380, they couldn't care whether you say the A320's got four engines and a double deck. They won't actually be assessing that. They will surely only be assessing your communication skills, and your attention to British Airways values of safety and customer service. So disregard the technical information if you want. You can literally make it up on the day. You can say you were cruising at flight level 580 if you really wanted, and they wouldn't care less. So disregard that. However, do take the technical detail that British Airways give you. They will give you, without wanting to give much away, they will give you some specific information. So make sure you are using that specific information. You can't just make up the airport name from scratch. You have to use the one that they are giving you. So please do keep that in mind. But any other normal technical details such as landing weight, landing speed, stuff like that, they won't really care that much about. You can also use it to generate your sort of mnemonic as a checklist to make sure that you are including all the relevant details in your answer. There will be key information also that you may not have in this checklist that you must add in, but just adapt it on the day. Get a notepad down, make sure you write all the information down, um, and then use your checklist to ensure that you are covering all the relevant details, such as the plan, what airport you're taking off from, what routing you're taking. Are you going to have to avoid any airspace, any closed airspace, any terrain, any weather, the aircraft, what aircraft you're using. Does a smaller aircraft behave different from a larger aircraft? Well, it does. Well, you need to mention that. Any vulnerabilities? Is this the last sector out of a 6-sector day? Examples like that. Any emergencies? What's the procedure for diverting to an alternate? What's the contingency plan if you lose an engine? And also the dialogue. Who is going to be the pilot flying? Who's going to be the pilot monitoring? How are you going to communicate this? And what sort of information do you, as pilot flying, want to be communicated to you? These are all relevant information, some of which more relevant during the passenger announcement and briefing, but also all relevant details that will be need to gloss over at some point. So keep that in the back of your mind and use this information when it's needed. So just to end off, I thought I'd give you some top tips to keep fresh in your mind. The 3 C's: be clear, be concise, and also be conscious of the situation. So clear, what does that mean? It means speak as in a way that you are conscious that passengers will be sort of listening and half listening to the PA, but include all of the relevant detail. And secondly, also some passengers, English won't be their first language, so don't use jargon, don't use overly technical terms. Secondly, be concise. So what do I mean by that? Include all the relevant detail and don't waffle. Passengers don't care exactly what temperature it is up at the cruising altitude, for example, but they might care what temperature it is at the arrival airport. So use that information relevantly, I guess. Finally, be conscious of the situation. You don't want to overplay a minor issue, but you also don't want to underplay a very dangerous issue. Get across to the passengers exactly what information they will want to know and exactly the reasons why they want to know it. All the time you hear passengers like complaining about, why do I care about this? What is the reason for the PA? Make that known to the passengers. You are doing a PA for a reason, so make that known to them. Also, take into account British Airways values. At the end of the day, you're not interviewing for a pilot position, you're interviewing for a British Airways pilot position. Get some of their customer service in there, get some of their key ideas in there. Safety is a priority for British Airways, so make sure you are putting that across in, first of all, the briefing, but also secondly, the passenger announcement as well. And then finally, take a breath, relax. You've done really well to make it into this situation. You've done really well to pass all the situational judgment test, the maths test, the detail check-in, all of that stuff. To get to this point, you've done really well. So be thankful for where you are. Don't take it for granted and keep putting in that work. And then hopefully we'll get to the next stage. And just finally, good luck. Good luck with any of the next steps that you're going to take. Do put any questions in the comments and I'll answer them all. I'm very good at answering them all with all your relevant information, so put them in the comments below. If you're interested in one-to-one aviation interview and assessment support or aviation career guidance, you don't know where to start with your career or your journey to the flight deck, then contact me on Fiverr. I give one-to-one sessions. I'm very flexible with my timetable currently for the next few weeks. So please contact me on there and we can find a time that suits both of us. And remember, as I put in this picture, remember the end goal. Is that a 350 first officer? Is it a short haul captain? Keep that in mind when you're doing all this. And remember, the effort will be worth it in the future. So keep that in mind and keep going. Good luck with all your next steps, guys.